With every new year, people get psyched to create some positive change in their lives. However, things still feel the same right now, with a lot of businesses, including gyms, still being closed. This is why I want to share some of the approaches I used last year that were pretty effective in maintaining and even improving my fitness. So without further ado, here are 3 tips for getting strong while the gym is closed. Before we go deeper into this, I want to point out an important distinction. I use the word train instead of climb, because it's useful to know what you're getting into so that you can adopt the right mindset. Climbing, for fun, is a recreational activity usually done with friends. We climb cool routes at a leisurely pace. There's no agenda or pressure. Training, on the other hand, is more of a regimented activity. It's planned and done with a clear intention. There's a set amount of workload to accomplish in a set amount of time. And therefore it's something that's best done alone or with partners of a similar mindset. Most of the time when I train at my local crag, I am bouldering by myself. I choose bouldering because logistics-wise it is easier to set up. There's no need to find a partner, the gear is lighter, the approach is typically shorter, and I can get a high volume of climbing done in a short amount of time. Of course, there are additional safety concerns when you're bouldering alone, so I mitigate the risk by sticking to safer boulders that don't need a lot of pads or a spotter. My focus when I'm training is centered around 2 things: technique and fitness. For fitness, I can find a circuit of problems or do laps on one problem for power endurance. If there's a hard problem I'm working on, I can even isolate a few moves to work on limit bouldering for power. On the technique side, I can pick problems that have movements I'm weak in and work on cleaning it up. A favorite of mine is to climb on boulders that have notoriously slick feet. It really lets you zone in on your footwork. If you're fortunate enough to find a boulder with a long traverse, use that high move count to work on flow and transitions. Remember, the goal of training is not necessarily to send, but to become a better climber. One thing I noticed over the last year was that during the times the gym was closed, I actually felt stronger. This is probably due to the fact I was overtraining and spending way too much time at the gym. Climbing had become my primary form of specialized fitness. When things started shutting down, all of a sudden I had this extra time on my hands, and when I wasn't climbing as much, I used the time to get acquainted with other forms of fitness. I got back into training with rings, practicing handstands, working on my mobility, and even got started with running. All of these things helped to balance me out as an athlete and even carried over into my climbing. And because I wasn't overtraining by climbing at the gym 5 times a week, my body actually had the time to recover and strengthen. So if you're not doing this already, I strongly urge you to diversify your fitness regimen and cross-train with other forms of exercise. Think about any imbalances you have in your body or shortcomings in your athleticism. If you've never stretched before, work on your flexibility. If you're limber but weak as a noodle, work on building some muscle. Whatever it is, find that weakness you've been neglecting and turn it into a strength. Do you remember the training montage from Rocky IV? Rocky agrees to fight his Russian nemesis Ivan Drago in Russia on Christmas Day, and in the lead up to the fight, does all his training in an old dingy barn isolated in the mountains. While his opponent has access to all the best equipment and training facility in the country, Rocky makes do with old farming equipment and whatever means he can find. This scene is a constant reminder that despite the advancement of ways to strengthen the body, we've neglected the mind and let it grow weak. We get used to the comforts and convenience of the gym and forget how to make do without them. The last tip of this video is to improvise. This means using whatever resource you have and making it an effective training tool. If you bought a hangboard, get it installed and learn the correct finger workouts. Get to your local park and do a circuit on one of their pull-up bars. Do box jumps outside. Work out at home. There's so much you can do with a little space, minimal equipment, and the right level of motivation.